good to see everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay, excellent. So I'm Josh Del Sol. I am so honored to be here. This is amazing, you guys. Like this, I'm really just experiencing and feeling the joy of tribe and community at a deeper level, probably the deepest level that I have ever in my life in this gathering. So something significant I'm sure you can feel is happening here. So we have a lot of material to uncover in this presentation. This is a shift forward from my previous work in the world, which was mostly on safe technology. And speaking of that, I just want to take a moment to quickly invite you, if you haven't already, to put your phone in airplane mode if that resonates with you. Because as we'll see, there's a little bit of information later about the relationship between EMF and our embodiment, because that's really what we're going for from within. So let's get started. So this is kind of my path. I started with Take Back Your Power, and I wanted to, the reason why I'm sharing this with you is just to share a little bit about where I'm coming from. Basically going from an outer need, making Take Back Your Power, responding to that outer need, and now at this point I feel that call within to do that inside out shift. So what do I want? What do we really want to create from the inside out? And how many projectors in the house? Human design projectors. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about? Where are my projectors at? So waiting for the invitation, and I'm so glad for the invite to be here. So the intention, okay, let's drop into this. And we'll go through this quickly. I'm not sure if we're going to get all the way, but this is going to be an experience for you guys. I really feel that. So thank you for being part of this and the weekend. So as we revive some censored wisdom expressions and realign to original meanings, my intention is, I'm just going to pull this out here. My intention is to offer insights that may be of direct applicability to what you are navigating in your own awakening experience, what you are bringing to the world at this time, at this shift of the ages. So this is a sensitive topic, and some well-established perspectives are going to be challenged. So just as you've heard before, receive what resonates and leave the rest. And this is my own declaration. I give only God permission to intervene in ways that I cannot unknow if I or ever get hijacked by untruth or darkness in ways I cannot see. So that's an intention that I just want to share with you publicly that is keeping me aligned. So what we're going to cover today, where we're at, individually, collectively, and cosmically, where we've been, lessons from the past, censored but recovered knowledge from the past shift of the ages predominantly and before, and contemplating the two key questions, which we'll get into in a minute, which comprised the basis of the last great book burning and global censorship campaign at and following the last shift of the ages between 1500 and 1900 years ago. And where we're going, and we're going to take what gems can we unearth and recover from that time period of awakening before the suppression, and we're going to ask what initiation and reality shift is truly available for us as we persist in this process for freedom and self-determination. So perspective, kind of some context, it is only from, and this is my sort of frame of understanding, it is only from a deeper level of our being, living our way, that we can together solve the most pressing problems on earth and create the new. And going deep also facilitates access to the most powerful motivation, unearthing our biggest why, our biggest reason, our biggest motivation, accessing that deep within us, which is going to keep us going and actually facilitate our standing in our essence, in our claim, in our power as we bring forward the new from a place of unity consciousness. So, great quote here, everything must be verified by personal experience. Otherwise, it is merely another form of slavery, one more chain to bind me in my unconscious and mechanical slavery. Verify, verify, verify everything for yourself. Free yourself of the habits of a lifetime, of blind following, of not thinking for yourself. There is no better or safer path to freedom. And I would also say that you can trust. We can stand on the shoulders of giants, of bright souls who have come before, in as much as what they brought resonates at our core, deep within us. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel at every time in this embodying and bringing sovereignty, our expression of sovereignty and creation to the world. So checking in, I just want to check in with the audience here. How many of you are you're kind of in a place where life is, quote, normal and things are not challenging you to your core and things are just in a good, like a steady flow? Is there anyone in that place right now? Okay, a few of you. And how many of you are navigating foundational shifts in your life right now? Okay, so I don't know if you can see if you're watching on video, but 90% of the hands went up on the second question. There's a strong sense that amidst massive censorship and resistance, something wants to come through, which is big, glorious, and new to this realm, and it's us. It's who we truly are, as we're finding out. So as because God or universe lives in the bodies of men and women in the process, this process necessarily happens inside out. It cannot happen outside in. This is one of my revelations, and on my path, I've realized this from coming from activism into this moment in which we are now, and the truth is not out there. Great quote. How many have seen Network? Yeah, right? I won't get, you can read that for yourself, but if you haven't seen this is a very interesting and prophetic film from the 70s. This is mass madness, you maniacs. You people are the real thing. How many just love this guy's rant in that movie? Like that, it's so life, hey? There's so much life in that. So, censorship at this shift of the ages. In any age, the empire attempts to censor what it perceives to be the most potent, imminent threats to its plan for dominance, information that effectively leads people, A, to question their narrative, and B, become an awakened chooser. Again, this is not revelatory for most of us. This is just establishing the context. So what's getting censored right now? Health, choice, freedom, beneficial technologies. There's something like 6,000 patents that have been suppressed by the US Patent Office, and that's documented in my film, Take Back Your Power. Unsafe and unethical technology, like all the concern around 5G and all the surveillance and microchipping and all that stuff that's obviously censored. Media lies and how much they're lying, that's being censored. Accountability methodologies and sovereignty movements, of course, and dot connecting and just knowledge about what's actually going on here at a deeper level. And censorship is not always overt, as we know, with algorithms and so forth. Often it's to reduce the reach of the message behind the scenes. And one reason is to try to demoralize the messenger. So understand this. We're in a war that's trying to demoralize you. That's one of their core goals. And so do what you need to do to revitalize, to encourage yourself, and to align with life. So the root of censorship, in my view, the empire, we'll just call it for now, is birthed out of a desire for power over sovereignty, or for power and sovereignty over others, instead of over oneself. Owning ourselves is the only true birthright aligned with the natural law of this free will universe. So my idea of the Lord of the Rings, I just came to this recently. I love this mythology. And it's the idea of the temptation of having power over others from a place that is not sovereignty over self. So when we're aligned with, I don't know where to point this thing, I'm just... Seeking power in a controlling way moves the soul away from natural law. And we feel this, right? When we're doing it, and we know we're doing it, the energy just drops. It incurs karma and diminishes soul expression. Thus, one loses their soul and becomes an agent for the matrix empire. They say loses more in the moment and not some permanent idea of a loss. The soul and divine birthright are available at the moment, at any moment to all, no matter how far one has fallen away from natural law, though sometimes may need some divine intervention. So what was censored at the last shift of the ages? We're going to really dive into this, because this is something that is really deeply aligned with my soul, you could say. After years of work, I think, in activism and EMF, I would just want to quickly share with you my first memory, actually, one of my first two memories as a 4 or 5 year old, being in church. I grew up in a Seventh-day Adventist church, And I remember like excusing myself to go to the bathroom. I was out in the hallway by myself, and I see this red shiny thing on the wall. And I go over there and I pulled it, and everyone walked out of the building. I didn't really have an idea what was happening. But something in me compelled me to pull that fire alarm as an expression of getting the church out of the box, out into the world, right? And getting the blinders off, really. Getting out of the box. So let's get out of the box here together. So the empire, we're going to define that as the power structure that grew out of Rome, which never fell. How many know that Rome never fell? Yeah, right? That's what we're dealing with today. It came out of that. As we will see, Rome's evil genius and centerpiece for their control system was to systematically subvert something mostly true and appealing to souls and twist it enough so that it disempowered the masses. Power outside of us. This is their foundation. This is what gave them so much energy. Our energy mostly, but once you'll see how it kind of comes together a little bit more. So I want to share, I had this book, and as I was packing, I literally forgot it, but I took a screenshot. A little bit from this book called Owning Your Own Shadow. The author is Robert A. Johnson. He's one of my favorite Jungian authors. He writes books like 80 pages long and just so jam-packed of juiciness. So, it was said that Dr. Jung's favorite story went something like this. The water of life, wishing to make itself known on the face of the earth, bubbled up in an artesian well and flowed without effort or limit. People came to drink the magic water and were nourished by it, since it was so clean and pure and invigorating. But humankind was not content to leave things in this Edenic state. Gradually, they began to fence the well, to charge admission, to claim ownership of the property around it, to make elaborate laws as to who could come to the well, and put locks on the gates. Soon, the well became the property of the most powerful and elite. The well was angry, or the water was angry and offended. It stopped flowing and began to bubble up in another place. The people who owned the property around the first well were so engrossed in their power systems and ownership that they did not notice that the water had vanished. They continued selling the non-existent water, and few people noticed that the true power was gone. But some dissatisfied people, that's us, searched with great courage and found a new artesian well. Soon, that well was under the control of the property of the owners, and the same fate overtook it, right? Maybe from past lives or whatever, some of you feeling this, right? This pattern. And the spring took itself to yet another place, and this has been going on through recorded history. So this is a very sad story, and Jung was particularly touched by it since he saw how a basic truth can be misused and subverted into an egocentric plaything. Science, art, and particularly the psychology had suffered from this dark process, but the wonder of the story is that the water is always flowing somewhere. So these are the two questions I'd like to invite you to consider as we go into this. The first is, where is the creative life-affirming power, this wellspring source of life, located today in this moment? Consider this from an individual perspective and the perspective of the all. And where is ultimate authority located? Again, from here and the all. So we're going to get into some history now, and this is it's a paradigm, it's a model of understanding. I'm not saying like everything here is 100% objective truth. My disclaimer is a lot of this is my frame of understanding. So this is where we're at right now. So this is the spring equinox sun in 2022, basically coming from Aries into Pisces a couple thousand years ago, and now we're actually not quite in Aquarius. The line, I don't know if you can see it, is about right there, but we're kind of traversing through Pisces. But that being said, I believe that what's happening over here in the cosmic terms and cosmic, the great wheel turning is already affecting us. It's actually coming in here, and you'll see reasons for that perspective a little later. So basically what this means is every 25,000 to 26,000 years, the Earth is doing this on its axis. This is called the precession of the equinoxes, or it has different names. And that means that the sun at the spring equinox time goes through the entire 12 signs of the zodiac. How many are familiar with this concept? Probably a lot of you guys. Okay, so this is what it was in 27 AD. So basically, the sun is coming, it's completed through Aries, and it's coming into Pisces, and it's literally at the vertical line of this vertical fish coming into the age of Pisces, approximately the time of Yeshua, of Jesus. So the way that I see it, he initiated the Piscean age. Christ consciousness, grace and unity within duality. The themes were God with us, internalizing a temple, and the law written on our heart instead of on stone. And here, of course, speaking of fish age, Piscean age, the Pope with the fish head, right? Like how many of you guys have seen the fish head here before that the popes wear? And so that symbolizes, that's esoteric symbology, in my view. It's disclosure of the great story, the grand wheel, the 25,000-year cycle, and it's an invocation to the divine, I would say, of their claim for rightful rulership, that they are the heads of the age. So this is 1446 BC. That's historically credited as when Moses received the Ten Commandments, whatever happened there. And so as we can see, the sun at the spring equinox was literally aligned with the first star in Aries. So it's coming in, it's this way, it's coming in this direction over the ages, and there it's in Aries. And of course we see Moses with ram horns. And this is throughout ancient iconography. This is something, this has been suppressed. But it's there. And the esoterics and the wisdom keepers and those in power knew about it, and some of them were trying to communicate that in different ways. So this is the age before coming into Taurus, 3700 BC. You can see the sun between the horns of the bull. Or if you like, this is another way to interpret Aries. By the way, this is called Stellarium, this software. I encourage everyone to go to stellarium.org and download this. Just get the software, it's free. And you can actually use this software in very powerful ways to determine what astrologically is happening at any point, past, present, or future. And I have to say that if you really understand the power of this simple tool, flat earthers don't like it. That's all I'm going to say. All I'm going to say. All right. So, and of course, Egypt with the sun disk between the bull horns, right? So that was the previous age. And just for kicks, I kind of looked at, okay, if Atlantis fell in 10,500-ish BC, which it may have, it may not have, I don't know, this is what it was like astrologically at the time with the spring equinox. So it was just coming out of Virgo, the sun, and just entering into Leo. There's evidence that the Great Pyramid was built around that time as well, and that the pyramid, the three pyramids at Giza, actually at that time astrologically overlaid and pictured an image of the three stars in Orion's belt almost perfectly. At that time it was apparently perfectly. So that's Western, and what's interesting is if you overlay Mayan, you see that death is in the sign of Leo. So that's the Mayan astrology there. You see toad and then death. And if you overlay Babylonian, we see that Leo is actually a lion demon. So just interesting, food for thought. I'm not claiming to know for sure on that one. So let's get back to this present time. So as in the big picture cosmically, we're coming out of Pisces into the energy of Aquarius. And what does that mean? And it's just kind of happenstance there that Jupiter is there. But what does this mean to come this direction? And esoterically in the Bible, Even within the canonized scriptures, there is tons of information encoded, symbology speaking about this bigger wheel that's turning. An example is what Yeshua said in Luke 22. So they're coming into Jerusalem. He said, where do you want us, or his disciples asked, where do you want us to prepare it? Listen, he said to them, when you've entered the city, a man carrying a pitcher of water, a jug, will meet you. Follow him into the house he enters. Tell the owner of the house, the teacher asks you, where is the guest room where I can eat the passing over, with my disciples? He will show you a large furnished room upstairs. Upstairs can symbolize upper consciousness. Make the preparations there. So let's look at this just a little bit, because again, I don't know how much we're going to get through in this 40 minutes. So a man carrying a pitcher of water will meet you there. So he's coming out of his house, and he's meeting us on the way. And follow him into the house. So he's coming out, he's meeting us, and then we're going to follow the energy of that kingdom into that house. The guest room. So staying in the guest room because they're not in there yet. They don't live there yet. They're over there. They're staying in the guest room, making preparations, passing over. A lot of the avatar consciousness, I think, the Christ foretells what's coming. It's like prepares you for the next shift at the shift that they initiate. So this is another one from John 3. But this is Nicodemus, right? How can anyone be born when he is old? Can he enter his mother's womb a second time and be born? Yeshua answered, I assure you, unless someone is born of water and of spirit, he cannot enter the kingdom of God. So he's talking on multiple levels, we can see. The individual level, they had the symbols and they had the baptism and different things, maybe transformational breath work, we don't know, that facilitated that on the individual level. But on the cosmic level, it's another truth. Whatever is born of the flesh is flesh, and whatever is born of the spirit is spirit. And in the concordance, you can look up, and the word spirit or wind, the Greek word pneuma can mean air as well. So he's talking about air and spirit are synonymous. So unless those days, the end of this age, when he was talking, we're there. Unless those days are shortened, we're limited, no one would survive. But those days will be limited because of the elect. Who are the elect? Anyone? Yeah. All the awake. The awake and those seeking life. So we're talking about this morning. There's like the nihilist camp and there's the life camp. It seems like, and the Bible even says, I've set before you life and death, therefore choose life. The point of this is not to say the Bible's wrong or that Christianity is wrong. I'm just saying how it got subverted and twisted, and there's so much depth that we can unearth by going into some of this stuff more deeply. So I believe that what's happening here is like the man carrying the pitcher of water is coming to meet us and shortening the journey. Does that make sense? Is this landing, or how am I doing? Is it okay? Okay. This is a little Easter egg from the start of my movie, Take Back Your Power. I just called my production company Big Picture Films because I didn't even really know it fully at the time, but I was wanting this Aquarian energy, this energy of the kingdom. And you can watch that my film on takebackyourpower.net. It's free, and it exposes the entire smart meter agenda, and it kind of lays the foundation for solutions as well. I'm not going to get into that, though. I'm tempted to, but I'm not. So 1945, esoteric Christian manuscripts were found in Nag Hammadi, Egypt, or Nag Hammadi. December 1945, 13 papyrus books bound in leather were found in a 3-foot-tall earthenware pot in Nag Hammadi, Egypt, by two brothers digging for soft soil to fertilize their crops. These were largely the works of the early Christian church and Gnostics, banned by the Roman Empire when it co-opted Christianity. Circa 325 with the Council of Nicaea and following. These were illegally saved. This is like what's happening now with the censorship. We're having to like preserve what we're doing now, like and bring it onto censor-free platforms. So these scholars were bringing that over to store so that it would be preserved and hopefully someday found by someone, and it was. So this is a key point. Rome burned the Library of Alexandria after it had established its narrative with the exoteric, transactional-based Christianity as the state religion. All right, so they say, these Christians are giving us problems. We're going to come against them. We're going to kill them, behead them, and put them on a cross and all this stuff. And then they say, these guys got some power. We can't, like, if we can't beat them, join them, right? Not join them, but take them over. And then they say, here's the narrative. These books are okay, but all these other ones are not. And then they say, and all these other books, if you're caught with them, you will die. This is what was recovered in the Nag Hammadi scrolls. Is that my phone? No. So these 52 ancient recovered books were so explosive, containing the potential to implode the religious power structure, that they still were not released until 1972 to 77. So unlike the Dead Sea Scroll finds of the same years, that Professor Hans Jonas, he was a very eminent scholar, a biblical and ancient scholar at the time. Unlike the Dead Sea Scrolls finds of the same years, 1945, which talked about the Essenes in a very sort of religious, sort of Jewish context, the Gnostic find from Nag Hammadi has been beset from the beginning to this day by a persistent curse of political roadblocks, litigations, and most of all, scholarly jealousies and firstmanship. The last factor has grown by now into a veritable chronique scandaleuse of contemporary academia. So this is like the find that happened that wasn't allowed to come out, and then until they kind of had paved the way, and until, you know, maybe society had shifted and they've all kind of made it so that they're not going to be as impactful. So what happened? When these were first published, instead of embracing this discovery to deeply enrich and bless the faithful worldwide, the Christian church as a whole completely downplayed and ignored this critically important body of work. Writings which were deeply valued by the awake and sincere early church followers of the way of the Christ, and by ancient scholars more broadly. And we know this. We know this story. The scholars basically agree, and it's all in this book. If you want to read the history of this, that's the book. What Rome gave us, again, was exoteric Christianity. They censored esoteric within, since it didn't fit with their narrative that people shall have a paradigm of external authority and thus be easier to rule. So there's something there with exoteric Christianity. I'm not saying it's all bad and wrong. And like the book of John is a great place to start if you haven't ever read, or it's been a while since you read the canonized Bible. But when you partner those works, which are mostly outside transactional based, with the other hidden works, it's beautiful what gets uncovered. So themes from the recovered text: the power and choice is within. Jesus said, if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. Boom, right? Okay, we're here. This is real. I'm real. The power is within me. There was a quote on the Time of Transition channel on Telegram, one of my favorite channels, recently, about like that creative potential that we have, right? We get an idea and inspiration. We follow that through. It's like, life, right? Like when we did that prayer before, that Aramaic prayer before, it was like just life comes when we act on those inspirations. But if you don't follow through the creativity that wants to come through you, it becomes a poison, this quote was saying. How many people can relate to that? It's like the flow wants to happen, you know? Help me get out of the way in that way. So commentary, the choice is fully up to up to each of us, and the stakes are real. Another theme is the elevation and equality of the feminine. Yeah. This was there. This was all there. The companion of the Savior, this is from the Gospel of Philip in the Nag Hammadi scrolls. The companion of the Savior is Mary Magdalene, but Christ loved her more than all the disciples and used to kiss her often on her mouth. You see that anywhere in the canonized Bible? The rest of the disciples were offended, especially Peter, that guy, man. This is from Thunder Perfect Mind in the Nag Hammadi. This is from the Divine Feminine. For I am the first and the last. How refreshing is it to have the feminine in the Christ way, hey? I am the honored one and the sacred, the scorned one. I am the whore and the holy one. I am the wife and the virgin. I am the barren one, and many are her sons. I am the silence that is incomprehensible. I am the utterance of my name. Right? The depth of that. And if you want to go into an expression, a beautiful expression of a strong woman of authentic faith in the early church, the Acts of Paul and Thecla. You can just look that one up. Actually, all of these, you can't see this, but what this says down here in the corner is that what does that say? All source links and references are at takebackyourpower.net/ancient wisdom. So if you go there, and right now you just got to put your email address in. I haven't compiled it yet, but everything here I'm going to put in one page on that page. So you can go there if you want to access that. Okay, and instead of a chasm between humanity and its creator, how am I doing on time? Is there a clock anywhere? Where is it? Okay, where is it? Oh, okay, perfect, thank you. I still can't read that. It's like reflecting the sun. It's like, what does that even say? Okay, instead of a chasm between humanity and its creator, or sin, guilt, power structures, and transactional salvationism, true self-knowledge is self-knowledge of God, because the core self and the divine source are one. You guys are going to love this one. Jesus said, I am not your master. This is to Thomas. But because you have drunk, you have become drunk from the bubbling stream which I have measured out. He who will drink from my mouth will become as I am. I myself shall become he, and the things that are hidden will be revealed to him. This is why, so many that come into this see that embodiment of the Christ, Yeshua. He came, his mission was glorious. He completed it, and I think there's evidence to say his mission was longer and more extended and more varied than we really realize. And he's our elder brother, in my view, the waymaker of the age, and the prophet for the entrance into the next age, where we're at now. So heresy, what does heresy mean? Thinking, seeing, and or choosing for oneself, doctrine or opinion at variance with established standards. Right? We think heretic, they're some, person without any right to think, or they're homeless, or whatever, I don't know. But we have this idea of the word heresy as something other than what it is, thinking, seeing, or choosing for oneself. So I'm a heretic. The campaign against heresy, I won't read all of this, but just look. The bishops prevailed, became a criminal offense, burned and destroyed. So they knew an involuntary admission of its persuasive power and its truth, in my view. I'm kind of fired up about this. You can kind of see. So maybe some of you guys are too, right? The subverting. I hate the subverting. Let's get back to the core and the power within. So this, you can get the whole book. It's $28. This is the best single, in my view, single compilation of all 52 books of the Nag Hammadi scrolls. And some starting suggestions for specific books are there. These two, hypostasis of the reality of the rulers, nature of the rulers, and that means archons. Secret Book of John, those two present a really interesting alternative cosmology and genesis to things. Really interesting. That's where the idea of the archons came from, was the Nag Hammadi scrolls. It actually, I should qualify that. That's where it was relayed, and it originated with the understanding of the way, far, far before that. So this is just saying that in some of these, like the Gospel of Thomas, it talks about male and female in a weird way, but what it means is that the Greek understanding at the time is that spirit is male and matter is female. So I wanted to say that because a lot of people misinterpret that. They don't know the context, and that's what they're referring to when they talk male and female. Joseph Campbell, 2 common misperceptions. Identity. The first is identity. In the Christian tradition, there's a very decisive problem in distinguishing between the sense of the word Christ and the sense of the word Jesus. Jesus refers to an historical character. Christ is a reference to an eternal principle. And another note about that is, this applies to John 14. When Jesus answered, "I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you had known me, you would know me by my Father as well." So basically identifying as the Father, as an expression of the Father, or consciousness, again at the time, or spirit, which was their lens. From now on, you do know him and have seen him. Does that sound like a man speaking, or does that sound like somebody bringing forth the highest expression of consciousness, right? Like, I'm the vessel here. I've dedicated my life to this, and this is kind of my purpose, is what he's saying. And just opening that up. So the other misperception, I'm going to do this, like the first 3 verses are going to be in reverse order. We'll see. So this is I love this meme. I love all these Jesus memes where he's like, going for it. The Jewish leaders demanded, "What are you doing?" Blah, blah, blah. "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." So one of his major themes was the temple is where? It's not in stone, it's here, right? What they explained is taken 46 years to build this temple and rebuild it in 3 days. But when he said this temple, he meant his own body. Okay, now, the first part of that preceding to that, what it said, so we've established the temple he's talking about is here. I did way too many clicks on this thing. It was nearly time for the Jewish Passover celebration, so Jesus went to Jerusalem. In the temple area, he saw merchants selling cattle, sheep, and doves for sacrifice. He also saw dealers at tables exchanging foreign money. Jesus made a whip from some ropes and chased them all out of the temple. He drove out the sheep and cattle, scattered the money changers' coins over the floor, and turned their tables. Then, going over to the people who sold doves, he told them, "Get these things out of here. Stop turning my Father's house into a marketplace." So again, my Father's house is both the temple and predominantly the temple. In marketplace, what happens in a marketplace? Transactions, right? Why was he so pissed here, you guys? Why do you think he was so pissed? He was pissed because people were selling the idea of being right with God. That they could do one thing one time, or a thing at a regular time interval, and they would be right with their source and creator. Think about this. Now tell me, that's the idea of being right with God through something that you do or say or buy. It's a transaction, right? Think about what the entire Christian church is based on since the 4th century. Right? Transactional. So don't get me wrong. I believe that there's something very powerful when you really get an understanding of who and what the Christ is. And at the core, when it's you and the Christ, there's not two. Okay? And when you allow that, you invite that, you bring that in and intend to embody it. Not just to get something, not just so that I'm going to be okay in the future and go somewhere after this embodiment that's really good. It's about the depth. It's about deepening. It's a yes and in most cases. In some cases, it's just an outright no. So yeah, he said, passion for God's house will consume me. For this temple. How many people are passionate about keeping this temple sacred? Our DNA is divine. Okay, so the rebirth of the Christ in the many, what he's saying here, basically you can read it for yourself, but he's saying if anyone says, look, there's the Messiah, there's the return of me, then don't believe it. Because he says, it's going to be like people are going to come and they're going to say I'm the Messiah to lead us straight if possible, even us. Like, do not believe it. For as the lightning comes from the east and flashes as far to the west, so will the coming of the Son of Man be. The Son of Man is his identity that he self-identified, as did his previous lives, as did Enoch and others in the sacred ancient writings. Thanks, Jeff, for the recommendation on this book. I'm getting to it. It's excellent. This is Yogananda. So what is the Christ principle or Christ consciousness? Neil Douglas Klotz, the dude on Aramaic, this guy, this author's amazing. Check him out. He's on Spotify. Neil Douglas Klotz says Christ equals the vision plus the I can of the cosmos. And I would add Christ is the divine coming into physical reality. It's way bigger than like a dude 2,000 years ago. A dude who embodied it and who shifted a lot and who is the way. And Christ is the expression of choice to celebrate yes of life in this moment. I see beyond the polarization that you are inviting me into. That's an invitation. I believe that's Christ. So I don't need either of us to be right in order to love you. I'm working on that one, actually. It's amazing how you step into this and you get challenged. Is this real? Are you going to make it real in your life? In the original Aramaic as spoken by Yeshua, we see a very different, very significant shift in meaning, generally away from the duality and separation of Greek and toward unity and fractal octaves. The Greek-English versions are not wrong, but they're so limited in expression that they have proved misleading. So Yeshua, Jesus, spoke Aramaic. Hebrew was in the temples. Aramaic was in when he taught, in common speech. In Aramaic, heaven means light and sound shining through all creation. That's one, Neil Douglas Klotz would say, that's one way that you can interpret it. Neighbor is both inside and outside, as is the self that we are to love. Our Father which art in heaven becomes, in the original Aramaic, one of many that Neil has in this amazing book, is O birther, Father, Mother of the cosmos. You create all that moves in light. Yeah, I can see like this is connecting this is going deep for a lot of people. I love this and I'm grateful for this opportunity. Everlasting life, infinitely renewable life. By looking at the original Aramaic, artificial barriers in meaning are very often completely removed. So 3 revelations. Do I have time for this? It says 41 on the thing, I think. 4 minutes. Can I do it? Reincarnation, this book, get this book. This is the best single, chapter 2 of this book is the best single summation of reincarnation in the Bible. You'll be absolutely blown away. The past lives of Yeshua, who Casey calls the master soul, first soul, or the elder brother, 30 times until he completed his mission as Yeshua. Think Avatar, who turns throughout our history and in different parts of the world on his own great soul arc, including lives as Emilius, Adam, Enoch, Hermes. So Enoch, Hermes, there's strong evidence to say they're the same lifetime, the same soul, the same lifetime. Built the Great Pyramid, then Yeshua down here in Egypt gets initiated in the Great Pyramid. Melchizedek opens the way for the Essene secret community, and then down here is Yeshua, he gets incarnated into that. You see how this is like a multi-layered, amazing story? So Joshua, he incurred some karma as Joshua in the Bible, going into the promised land and killing all of the other tribes. And if you look at the sites where Yeshua did the miracles, it's the same places. A lot of it's the same places. All right. Oh, let's do this really quickly. Okay. I wish I had more. Maybe we can we do this like on the downstairs somewhere? I don't know, later. So look at this, you guys. Casey, the energy centers went like this. The 7th was at the forehead, and the 6th was more towards the pineal gland. This was the hypothalamus and pituitary. So the energy came up, and it came out of here. So you look at the pharaohs, and they apparently had that same understanding. You look at this guy, Moses, right? It said that his face was so bright after he had an engagement with the Lord, is that he had to wear a veil. It was too bright. There's too much energy coming out. So that's how Casey saw it. So maybe we'll close with this, because I want to be respectful of time. Okay, so take a breath, Josh, right? Thank you. So Edgar Cayce, in his readings, and by the way, he knew stuff about the Essenes. He knew stuff which was not known until it was discovered in 1945. He knew about women in positions of leadership within the Essene community and how that community worked. Nobody knew that. That documentation was around, and then it was verified in 45. He did 12,000 readings, proven to be right pretty much all the time, as far as I know. He linked the Lord's Prayer with the energy centers. You get it? The temple's here. So I got to settle down and ground. Okay. So do you guys want to do this? Okay. I invite you, if you resonate with this, to speak the English with me. I do have the Aramaic, but we'll save that for another time. So just take a moment, take a breath or two, and feel the essence of those connections of the internal Christ or the way, or whatever you identify as the source of true, divine, benevolent love and light and power in your essence in this world. Feel that within you. And share this with me, if you will. O birther, father, mother of the cosmos, focus your light within us and make it useful. So it's O birther is here, and focus your light is literally here, like light coming in, you guys. Focus your light within us and make it useful. Maybe you can connect the points here. Create your reign of unity now. Your desire acts with ours, so the lower centers, as in all light, so in all forms. So your desire acts with ours. As in all light, so in all forms. Now this is your base, this is the earth. Grant what we need each day in bread and insight. Grant what we need each day in bread and insight. Solar plexus, loose the cords of mistakes binding us. As we release the strands of others' guilt. Do not, this is second center, do not let surface things delude us. Heart center, but free us from what holds us back. For from you is born all ruling will, the power and the life to do. The song that beautifies all. From age to age it renews. Truly, power to these statements, may they be the ground from which all my actions grow. Amen.